I spent years believing that avoiding credit cards made me financially responsible. And honestly, I don't believe that anymore. Welcome to the place where we have conversations about money that most people avoid. And honestly, this one I've avoided publicly for a very long time. Have you ever had a belief that just kind of you outgrow? Well, that's kind of what happened to me with my own credit card debt. So many years ago, I was in a lot of credit card debt. I would say maybe close to 30,000, I would say. And it was tough during that time because I had probably like 3 to 4 to 5, maybe even different credit cards, all charging way over 20% interest on each one of them. And I would be juggling. I'd be trying to pay a little bit on this one, then I try to pay more on that one so I could use that because then I had more points. And then I would, jump over to this one because, that one has some automatic bills that are on it. And I was just like flailing, to be honest, just trying to survive. And being in that survival mode kind of created this mindset for myself. It was the emotional money relationship that I developed that wasn't healthy. In order for me to really recover and kind of get out of that monster amount of debt, I started treating credit cards like they were danger, like there was a danger sign over them. And I think that was the right thing at the time. I would, cancel all the cards. I paid as much as I possibly could on each one, or focus on one and then kind of tier to the next, using like the snowball effect. And credit stopped feeling like a tool, and it started feeling like something that I should be afraid or scared of. I probably should have at that time. But I honestly went the other way in the other pendulum where I avoided everything. I was hyper focused on getting rid of this debt. And that meant that I had to operate from a place where credit wasn't even in the picture. So cash was king. I had to, I closed all my accounts. I paid as much as I possibly could on each one of them, using strategies, of course. And eventually, I dug ourselves out of the mess that we created. That total restriction, you know what? It felt safe. It felt like I could breathe again. And if I go back to my old ways, that I would end up in the same place that I was before. People like Dave Ramsey, they do push this type of theory where you should be using mostly cash, avoid debt at all costs, cut up those credit cards. Right, I was falling in line exactly with this theory. And again, I probably needed that at that time. But this is where I realized there was a turning point. My debt wasn't who I was anymore. I had climbed out of it. And I realized that I needed to change the perceptions and the mindset that I had in my mind about using debt or using credit cards. People talk about trauma in different ways. You may have physical trauma, emotional trauma, and I do believe that there is financial trauma as well. And that is kind of what I had. And I had become better. I had formed great discipline practices in my life, and I felt like I was in the recovery phase. And then I looked to financially intelligent people. What did they do? I don't think everybody was avoiding using credit cards. So how are they managing? How are they not falling into the same traps? The first thing that I noticed was they weren't obsessed with it, right? They weren't afraid of it and they weren't obsessed with it. They would use their credit card from day to day for regular purchases, but there must have been a way where they didn't exceed the amount of money that they were making. But how? And it wasn't about the numbers. And this is what's hilarious. It wasn't about the numbers. It was realizing that credit cards are just a tool. Whether you use a debit card or a credit card, it actually is the same thing. And this is where the mindset shift changed. All along throughout my life, I've always thought of the limit of the card. What is the limit? What can I possibly get to? When I should have been thinking, how much can I spend? Right? Such a different way of thinking, because now we're focused on our income and what we've allowed ourselves to spend based on our budget, and not about what that limit is. The limit is actually irrelevant because it's what you can manage. And that is how financially intelligent people operate when it comes to credit card usage. I think I have an evolved perspective now. And coming through this realization has made me realize that we don't have to be afraid. We don't have to operate in fear. Our discipline that we needed at one time perhaps is not necessary at another time of your life. I think financial maturity comes as you recognize your patterns. I think in the time when I had the full amount of debt, I recognized the pattern. I knew what the problem was, and I had to implement something that was going to take me out of that. And then I created a new pattern, and that new pattern was discipline, and it was being focused on the goal of coming out of the debt. And then finally, as I was in recovery from all of that, I think that I needed to develop a new pattern, and that was recognition of where am I at right now, and how can I use these tools to the best of my ability. I think that is the hard part, transitioning between these phases. I think we all understand that using credit cards gives you points. Paying off your credit card bill at the end of every month, will avoid interest. We all understand the tips, but do we understand it emotionally? When you're feeling sad and you just want to go out and buy a latte to make you feel better, you don't want to be thinking about money for these little purchases or for your everyday purchases. You want that financial noise to be erased. And I think the only way to do that is really recognizing your patterns. Because money isn't about the numbers. It's about how you feel and where you are in the time of your life. And part of growing is allowing your beliefs to evolve and change, and not feeling embarrassed about your previous version of yourself. My old mindset, it protected me when I needed it, but I'm not that version of myself anymore. So if this resonated with you, just drop a comment. Let me know of one financial belief that you have had to unlearn because you're in a different phase of life, because you've grown. Because I really don't think I'm the only person who's evolved their relationship with money over time. I'll see you in the next one.